Najijua kuwa mimi nitauawa. Niko katika borrowed time. Mimi ni mtu wa pekee ambaye marafiki zake wote wameuliwa. Sina rafiki hata mmoja.
Every other time these sheikhs are coming up and saying we feel our life is threatened. And then the next day, and everything goes quiet.
The only way Muslims can get peace is when they take up arms and implement Sharia law.
Tutamalizana na nyinyi. Yoyote anavaa uniform, tutamalizana naye. Nini faida kwetu? Wewe ni mmoja wewe.
What kind of preaching was going on? It was purely radicalisation on jihadism and terrorism.
The youth now in Kenya are looking for weapons to protect their sheikhs against the government, against the Americans, against the British. Inshallah jihad. How am I a terrorist? Who have I terrorized? That's why I'm in court now for 3 years and nothing has been proved against me. I'm the one who is being terrorized. My life is the one which is in danger.
Sisi tukipata silaha tutapambana na wao kama vile wao wanavyotufanyia.
On the evening of Tuesday, April 1st, 2014, Sheikh Abubakar Sharif, also known as Makaburi, was leaving the Shanzu law courts, where he was facing terrorism-related charges, when several gunmen opened fire on him and several people accompanying him. Several eyewitnesses reported that 2 men dressed in white robes and driving a white car shot at Makaburi as he waited for the court gate to open shortly after leaving a court hearing.
As soon as we left the law courts right outside the Shanzu court gates, I heard gunshots. They seemed to go on forever. When I came out from where I was hiding, that's when I saw his body.
The then Mombasa County Commissioner Nelson Marwa described the killing as a crime and announced that the government had launched an investigation.
Ile incident iliyotokea jana jioni is a criminal act and investigation ilianza immediately jana. So nobody should come up and start to misinterpret it, to incite youth, to throw stones, to burn buildings, to burn churches. No, we cannot allow Kenyans to go that far.
However, the police did not provide any additional details about the assailants or the motive behind this attack.
I'm not scared of death because I know I will die at any time. Are they going to kill me? Yes, they are. But that doesn't make me scared. I mean, I'm a true Muslim. Why should I fear death?
Makaburi was the 5th high-profile radical Muslim preacher to be shot and killed in unclear circumstances in just under 3 years. He was on constant police surveillance ever since the United Nations Security Council put him under international sanctions together with his best friend Aboud Rogo for radicalizing, financing and facilitating the movement of young men from Kenya to Somalia for Al-Shababb militant training. This was a claim that he consistently refuted in the media and in the court of law.
It was not a jihad meeting. It was a convention to make it clear to some worshippers who did not know certain issues concerning jihad.
Following his death, his youthful supporters took to the streets of Mombasa, expressing outrage over what they perceived as an assassination by Kenyan security forces. These deadly protests were concentrated around the Masjid Musa Mosque in Majengo, a known hub for radical preaching associated with Makaburi and his colleagues.
The community here believes that this is just the latest example of a systematic campaign of murders and disappearances of the more radical thinkers of their community.
There was radicalisation going on here and matters of jihadism. It was in their leaflets that we had before. We also had a lot of intelligence information that we had before this day of the event, and I would like to confirm that it is true. The exercise that was going on here was purely radicalism and jihadism.
Jihad is in many forms, and us as Muslims, we have every right to preach jihad. The Muslim Ummah has every right to know about jihad, and no government in the world has ever prohibited jihad being taught in mosques.
Abubakar Sharif Ahmed, who was better known as Makaburi, was a vocal supporter of Osama bin Laden, the leader of the world's most dangerous terrorist organizations, the Al-Qaeda, and he had described the 2013 attack on the Westgate shopping mall in Nairobi by the Al-Shababb rebel group as 100% justifiable. He was on the United Nations sanctions list, where he had been accused of being a leading facilitator and recruiter of young Kenyan Muslims for violent militant activity in Somalia, and also for having strong ties with Al-Shababb leaders both locally and regionally. He was even banned from traveling outside of Kenya, and he had his assets frozen in 2012.
This is the aftermath of an attack inside this church in Likoni, a tourist favorite along Kenya's coast. The masked gunmen with automatic weapons stormed into the church just as the service was about to begin. What followed was indiscriminate shooting as the worshippers scrambled to safety. And when it was done, the gunmen simply walked away. 2 people lay dead on the church floor. Several others died in hospital.
The killing of Makaburi came just 1 week after 6 worshippers were shot dead inside a church near Mombasa, prompting a fresh crackdown by Kenyan security forces, and it renewed the talks amongst government officials of a shoot-to-kill policy so as to deal with the threat of Islamic terrorism and violence. It also came a day after 6 people were killed in a terrorist attack in Nairobi's district of Eastleigh, an area often known as Little Mogadishu because of its predominantly Somali population. As a radical cleric who described himself as Kenya's #1 target in the fight to disrupt Al-Shabaab's recruitment network, Sheikh Makaburi made no apology for his activities, and he believed that they were justifiable according to his own controversial interpretation of verses in the Quran.
The Western governments do not want Muslims to talk about jihad. We will talk about jihad. We will believe in jihad. It is jihad. Jihad is part of our religion. They will kill us all. We will die, but we will never leave jihad. The only way Muslims can get peace is when they take up arms and implement Sharia law.
But even though Makaburi was guarded in his movements as he feared assassination attempts, he was not in hiding.
Salamu alaikum. Niambie. Mambo mzuri.
Makaburi said that the constant accusations that he directly funded the Al-Shabaab terror group were all false, but he defended the terror group's right to use violence.
The youth now in Kenya are looking for weapons to protect their sheikhs against the government, against the Americans, against the British.
So next step in Mombasa, then what will happen?
Inshallah jihad.
You're going to see fire.
Inshallah.
Together with his longtime friend, the late Sheikh Aboud Rogo, they established an Islamic boarding school just outside Mombasa, where young Muslim boys, roughly between the ages of 10 and 18, some of whom were orphans, learned to memorize the Quran by heart. His young son was one of its students. It is believed that this school was a pipeline that began with Sheikh Makaburi and other radical clerics who delivered radical Islam sermons to young Muslim boys, many of whom were in fact fresh converts, keen to prove themselves to their peers. Their journey of living in Kenya began from Mombasa via Lamu in the north and onto the remote islands off its shores, from which the Somali border is only a couple of hours away by boat. Police investigations would later discover that the would-be jihadis, whatever their national origin was, did not make it through this route by themselves, but they were actively guided along by radical preachers such as Makaburi. They were told which islands they should head for, where they should stay, or who they should contact to transport them on boats from isolated outposts such as the Pate Island to the ultimate destination of Somalia. Most of these new recruits had been promised money for their families back home and a place in paradise as a reward for their commitment. But when they arrived in Somalia, their dreams of jihad and glory were all shattered. One such recruit, who was only identified as Ali and had miraculously made it back to Kenya from Somalia, said that he was only 14 years old when he traveled to Somalia. He described being forced to watch the beheading of another young recruit who had tried to escape from the Al-Shabaab camp in Kismayo. This was a shocking warning to others who might have contemplated running away. Ali, just like the many other young boys, was traumatized by what he saw and confessed that he still had nightmares about that horror that he witnessed. Ali managed to escape and make it back to Nairobi. He said that it was Sheikh Makaburi who encouraged him to travel to Somalia and become a jihadi. He said, and I quote, "He used to tell us, instead of sitting in the slums doing nothing, it is better to go to Somalia and fight for your religion. You'll go straight to heaven."
Following recent series of attacks by Al-Shababb in Lamu, the state is now announcing possible drastic moves that could include bombing the porous Boni forest believed to be the hideout of the militants. Coast Regional Coordinator Nelson Marwa says deteriorating security situation in northern Lamu could well force the state to go that direction until all the militants are flushed out.
Mutasikia yale maneno hamujawahi sikia katika huo msitu wa Boni. And I'm telling you this for a fact. Kama wako huko wanasikia, waambiwe. You will see some fireworks in that forest you have never seen in your life.
In 2012, Kenyan armed forces successfully attacked Kismayo, an Al-Shabaab main port and the logistical base in South Somalia, and an important source of income for the group. As a result, the notorious activities of the Somali pirates and terrorists were curtailed. To facilitate an entry route for weapons and fighters, the Boni Forest became the next perfect route for the Al-Shabaab. The Boni Forest is a diverse coastal forest in northern eastern Kenya, forming part of the Boni National Reserve and serving as a critical habitat for wildlife, but it also faces security challenges. Located in Garissa County, northern Kenya, and extending into parts of the Lamu district and bordering Somalia, the Boni Forest became the perfect hideout for Al-Shabaab militants, who used the dense forest to launch attacks into Lamu, Garissa and Tana River counties.
The unknown gunmen killed about 52 people. We're told 49 of them are civilians. We have one policeman and about two KPR who were doing patrols around this area. Now, we're told that at about 8 p.m. last night, about 40 people came in heavily armed and took control of Mpeketoni, making sure that they go to each and every place, shooting down everybody they came across.
Makaburi, who was a people's person, was tasked with the sole purpose of collecting and relaying intelligence information to Al-Shabaab leaders in Somalia and in the Boni Forest. This was done mainly through Facebook and WhatsApp and human contacts. The intelligence gathered helped them to plan village attacks in Lamu and Tana River, where innocent men, women and children were killed. These surprise attacks were often carried out in the dead of the night, with the aim of leaving behind as many dead bodies, traumatized children and deserted villages. Makaburi is also alleged to have facilitated the movement of Samantha Luthwaite, also known as the White Widow, and her Kenyan husband, Fami Salim, to Somalia and the Boni Forest without police detection.
Tutamalizana na nyinyi. Yoyote anavaa uniform, tutamalizana naye. Nini faida kwa wewe ni mmoja wewe?
Aboud Rogo's best friend and associate, Abu Bakr Sharif Ahmed, was charged in a Mombasa court with incitement to violence and remanded without bail. Sharif Ahmed is accused that on the 27th of August at Masjid Musa Mosque he uttered words of killing of Muslim leaders associated with the government, police officers on site and burning of churches.
There's nothing else I've been doing except propagating Islam. So why are they after me? It's because of Islam.
How am I a terrorist? Who have I terrorized? That's why I'm in court now for 3 years and nothing has been proved against me. I'm the one who is being terrorized. My life is the one which is in danger. Any sheikh who talks about the Islamic religion as a whole, meaning including jihad, is killed in Kenya. The Western governments do not want Muslims to talk about jihad. We will talk about jihad. We will believe in jihad. It is jihad. Jihad is part of our religion. They will kill us all. We will die, but we will never leave jihad.
But while other terror suspects were being arrested and prosecuted, Makaburi's fate seemed to have been sealed a long time ago. He was no longer a stranger to police cells and to courtrooms in Mombasa, and the government of Kenya was now fed up with him. Makaburi had to be eliminated, and it had to be done fast and professionally.
When we received the information that so and so is organizing a certain group who are likely to terrorize people, the first person to get rid of is the leader. Makaburi in Mombasa is a very dangerous person to our country. What do you do with such a person? Do you spare such a person? Because you are observing human rights?
The Recce Squad, which is a GSU squad in Nairobi. Those are the guys who are doing these killings all over Kenya. And they have been given immunity from persecution. So what they're doing is they're cleansing whoever is a potential threat.
Makaburi was shot as he left the courtroom. He became the third prominent Muslim cleric murdered in Kenya in the last 2 years.
Every other time these sheikhs are coming up and saying we feel our life is threatened, and then the next day, puff, we are not there and everything goes quiet.
Right, let's now take you back to our top story this evening. Radical Muslim cleric Abubakar Sharif alias Makaburi has been shot dead tonight by unknown assailants. The attack occurred near the Shanzu law courts in Mombasa.
And even though he claimed he was ready to die, Makaburi feared for his life and reportedly lived in hideouts for a large part of his life, especially after his confidant Sheikh Aboud Rogo was assassinated in broad daylight 2 years ago.
On the evening of Tuesday, April 1st, 2014, Sheikh Abubakar Sharif, also known as Makaburi, was leaving the Shanzu law courts, where he was facing terror-related charges, when several gunmen opened fire on him and 5 others, killing him on the spot. He was shot twice in the chest.
Muslim youth engaged anti-riot police officers in running battles in Majengo, Mombasa, while protesting the killing of radical preacher Sheikh Abubakar alias Makaburi. Police were forced to fire in the air and lob tear gas canisters at the demonstrators as they attempted to march to town from the former Masjid Musa Mosque.
The community here believes that this is just the latest example of a systematic campaign of murders and disappearances of the more radical thinkers of their community. They see this as religious persecution.
His youthful supporters took to the streets of Mombasa, expressing their outrage over what they perceived as an assassination by Kenyan security forces. The protests were concentrated around the Masjid Musa Mosque in Majengo, a known hub for radical preaching associated with both Makaburi and Aboud Rogo. And as religious leaders across Mombasa and members of the civil society condemned his killing, the then Interior Minister Joseph Olelenku denied any government involvement in his death.
The criminal or terrorist who injured baby Setrin and orphaned him is no different from that one who killed Makaburi. As a government, ours is to investigate and deal with the same according to the law, and they will be brought to book.
But in a series of interviews with local and international media, Sheikh Makaburi had said that he was already aware that there was a plan by the government to kill him.
Are they going to kill me? Yes, they are. But that doesn't make me scared. I mean, I'm a true Muslim. Why should I fear death?
Najijua kuwa mimi nitauawa. Niko katika borrowed time. Wakati wote wanaweza kuniua. Mimi mke wangu imebidi nimwache. Hawezi kuishi na mimi. Watoto wangu imebidi waondoke nyumbani kwangu. Waogopa hata kuja kukaa kwangu. Kwa sababu safari moja nilipovamiwa, kitoto changu kidogo ndio kilikwenda kufungua mlango. Kilipofungua mlango ni makelele la chini na kuwekewa bunduki ya sura.
His death not only counted as a statistic on the global war of terror, but it also unmasked a deadly anti-terrorism police squad that had been secretive for a very long time. But the question remains, was Makaburi's death as a result of a weak judicial system that had failed to put him behind bars despite his public support of terrorism? Or is there a secret police unit determined to take the law into its own hands?